Hi guys, it is Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing, and I'm here with a very late weekly wrap up. So I haven't actually done a weekly wrap up in 2 weeks. I didn't do one 2 weeks ago because I actually only read one book through that week because it was a pretty thick book. It was 700 pages, and I just had some things on that week, the end of the week, which meant that I didn't finish this as quickly as I hoped to and read another book. So I decided just to leave it and go the following week, and then on Sunday I just wasn't having a good face day. Do you know those days where you just don't like your face, there's things going on with your face, and I just didn't want to film on Sunday. So I feel like filming, I feel like talking about books, so I'm just going to go and do a weekly wrap up now for the past 2 weeks, and then I'm also going to show you some books that I recently got from publishers, from Book Depository and from the library, as a little bonus, seeing as this is a late wrap up anyway. So as I mentioned, the first book I finished in the last 2 weeks was The Black Prism by Brent. This is a fantasy book, a pretty high fantasy book as you can see, and it involves a magic system that is very unique and one that I haven't really read anything like before. So this is in a world where the magic comes through colour, and people who are capable of doing magic, it's kind of like they can almost like summon colours that can do different things, and they can almost feel different emotions with different colours. Like people that can kind of wield blue tend to be a little bit more calm. People who wield green tend to be kind of, I think they get mad quickly, like stuff like that. And then it's, people can see different versions. Like some people can see, like, can wield like yellow to red, others can do blue to green. And then there is a guy called the Prism who is basically like the most powerful. He can basically use every single colour under the sun. He can use all the colours. He is the most powerful magician, I guess, in this land, which means he's kind of like their ruler, but he's not really their ruler because he's under a lot of restrictions himself. So we are getting the story mostly from his point of view. So from a boy called, I think his name is Kit, and Kit is Gavin's son from a war from like about 16 years earlier. There was this big war between Gavin and his brother for who would be the next Prism, and obviously Gavin won, and now he's been told that he has this son. So we are being told the story a little bit through these two male characters, also through a couple of female characters as well. One of them is a warrior, another is a friend of Kit's, and also a magician as well. And we're kind of seeing there's still unrests kind of brewing, and looks like there's going to be another war. I'm going to be honest, it's kind of hard to explain because it's one of those magical systems that at first as you start reading you're like, oh, like I don't know if I like this, I don't know if I get it, but the more you read it, the more you just understand it more, and the more it becomes clear and you accept it, and you're like, okay, well, this is just how things are. So yeah, I found most of it quite good. I did find some I think some descriptions are maybe a bit too long, a little bit overly descriptive at points, where there was a point where kind of near the end of the book I was just ready for the book to be over. There was a big battle at the end that should have probably excited me more than it did. I think by the time I got to that part I was just ready for the book to be finished. There were some like surprising things that happened in this book that were surprising and not so surprising, but I think they were still done very well, and the reveals were done very well. I like the fact that I'm pretty sure Kit is biracial. He's described in a way that I'm pretty sure he's biracial, and he's also fat character as well, and his weight is mentioned a lot, both in derogatory terms sometimes, but also, like, you know, he's a little bit ashamed of his weight, but he also doesn't like lose weight quickly through magic or anything like that. Like, he's still like a fat character at the end of the book, and we see how sometimes his shape actually comes in handy, and like his strength through that as well. So yeah, I kind of like that there was a little bit of diversity in that sense as well in this book. I will read on, I just don't know when, but I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Next book after that was for the Summer Biannual Bibliothon, which I only read 2 books for that. I completely failed the Summer Biannual Bibliothon. It was just terrible. And I read The Reader on the 627 by a French name I cannot pronounce, so I'm not going to, because it would just be terrible for me to butcher that name. This was really short. I read this really quickly actually, and it is just a very fun, quirky, cute novel about this man who I thought he was an older man, but he's actually a man maybe only in his 30s, and he works in this factory that basically destroys books, and he works with this machine. The whole purpose of this machine is to eat books that no one wants anymore, and it creates kind of, I guess, paper glue kind of thing to make new books, but he basically hates his job because he hates seeing this like kind of destruction, this destructive machine every day, and the machine actually kind of becomes its own character in a sense. Like it's kind of brought to life in a way by the way he describes it. You think it's a real thing with feelings and hunger and stuff like that, and it's described really, really well. Like the way things are described in this book are quite quirky, but are done really, really well. I think actually if people maybe like kind of the quirkiness of Frederick Backman, they probably like this book. It's a little bit different. It's not completely the same sense of style, but I think in the quirkiness it is quite similar. And there are just some really nice bits in this. Like he reads pages that he has saved on the train every morning, and people kind of know that this is what he does, and they wait around for him to do it, and some people get the train specifically just to hear him read these pages that he has saved. And he starts reading at one point to a retirement home, and those scenes are just so funny and really, really nice as well, and I really liked them. But yeah, I just really, really enjoyed this, and I gave it a really strong 4 out of 5 stars, and I definitely recommend it. The last book I read in the past 2 weeks up until this week was Florida by Lauren Groff. This is a collection of short stories. All the stories have some kind of connection to Florida, the state in America, and I actually quite like this. I always say this when I read any short stories. I don't read a lot of short story collections, so for this one I definitely liked more than half of them, like really, really liked them, so that is good for me. However, I think like with last week as well, I think I was busy a couple of days, and I found myself just like, once I set it down, I just didn't have this like raw to pick it back up and continue to read it. Once I was reading it, I was okay, but then like once I think I was about like 60 to 70% through it, like I was almost finished it, I only had a few stories left, and it just took me another like 2 to 3 days just to read those stories, even though I probably could have bashed them out just in one evening, one solid evening, and I just wasn't arsed to do that. So I think that kind of went a bit badly in the end for the book, but I don't know whether that was just maybe just whatever way I was feeling like last week when I was reading it, if it could have been another day. Like the first day I really like, I went through it, like the first couple of days I really sped through it, and then it was the last few days that I just were a real slog, but I did enjoy a majority of the stories in this, and I really like kind of a lot of it. There were some that were told through a male point of view, but I think most of them were female, and I really liked it. And there was some emphasis on mothers and children and relationships between mothers and children. I thought those were quite interesting as well. So yeah, I did quite enjoy this. I just didn't love it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. And then my current read is The Devil and the Bluebird by Jennifer Mason Black, which I'm reading for the Book Buddy-a-thon. And so far I'm really enjoying this. I'm like halfway through this now. I think I'm going to finish this tonight because yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. This is completely different to what I thought it was going to be. It's about a girl who actually sells her voice to the devil so she can try and find her sister who went missing a few years earlier, who she also thinks may have done a deal with the devil. And she has this guitar, and she's like backpacking around, like hitchhiking around, and trying to find her sister and playing the guitar and meeting all these like weird and wonderful people and characters on her way, some bad, some good, and yeah. So I'm quite enjoying this at the moment. It's really fun, and as I said, completely different to what I thought it was going to be, which was a pleasant surprise. So I just wanted to show you some books that I received from publishers recently. Both of these I received from HarperCollins actually. The first one is When the Light's Out by Mary Kubica, and I actually have no idea what this is about, but it is a thriller. This seems to be about a woman who has been caring for her sick mother for a while, and then suddenly she discovers that the person she thought she was has officially been declared dead for like 17 years, or 17 years ago. So now she has like no idea who she actually is maybe, and it seems that whatever it is, the mystery is something to do with something that happened 20 years in the past. So sounds kind of interesting. I don't know. I've never read any of her books before, but I've heard good praise for them, so I'm excited to finally get to this one. The next one I have here is The Secret Legacy by Sarah Alexander, which just has the most beautiful summary cover, and it just makes you want to go and dive in the sea. And it is set in Italy, and I think it's about a girl who joins a family in 1949, and she starts caring for the family, but she becomes more entwined with the family. She's like not just an employee, I think, and there's something to do with secrets, and yeah, so it sounds good. It sounds like one that you'd read like by the pool or on the beach or something. Though I have none of those kind of holidays planned, but I'll find somewhere to read it. Probably end up reading it in the middle of winter, wait and see. The next book I have here I got from the library the other day. It's actually my only library loan out at the moment. I've been so good with the library lately. I've been really focusing on trying to read the books I have, so I've been so good. But this is actually a non-fiction. It's called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. This is basically just a book about sleep and why sleep is good for you, and why, like, the new science of sleep and dreams, and that's all I really know about it. My boyfriend is just obsessed with this book and he's always talking about it and he thinks I should read it, so I was like, okay, I will, and I went and reserved it from the library and it came in pretty quickly. So I probably won't pick this up straight away. I'll probably pick it up in a couple of weeks once like Booktubeathon and stuff is over, and it's definitely not one I will like push through for, like, it's not one I would read in a couple of days. I think it's one that I will read a little bit, maybe every night. Maybe it will help me get to sleep because it'll be so boring, I don't know. But yeah, it could be really interesting. We will see. It's a little bit different to what I normally pick up as well. So I think variety is the spice of life, isn't it? So that's good. The books are books I bought on a random spontaneous book depository order I did a couple of weeks ago. And I decided I was going to treat myself and buy myself some new books. And they're books that I normally don't buy either. Like a lot of non-fiction, like, happening here. I don't know what's happening to me. So the first one is Notes on a Nervous Planet by Matt Haig. Matt Haig is he wrote How to Stay Alive, which he wrote kind of focused on his journey with depression and anxiety, and this is kind of, I think, a follow-up to that one. This is the first book I will be reading of his. I have heard very good praise for all of his other books though, and there's just something about this one that's just really appealed to me. It could have just been like the cover of it or something, but I just really like kind of the questions it asks at the front, which is, how can we stay sane on a planet that makes us mad? How do we stay human in a technological world? How do we feel happy when we are encouraged to be anxious? And I just think maybe some of the arguments that he throws up in this will be really interesting to read about. So I'm very much looking forward to reading it. I don't think it's going to be a very long read as well. As you can see, it's quite a small book. So yeah, next book I have here, and the last one, is, I'm so excited to read it, and it is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. Everyone and their mother are reading this at the moment, so if you don't know what this is, you've been living in a hole somewhere. This is about the Golden State Killer. So it is a it's non-fiction true crime true crime book written by Michelle McNamara, mostly written by her. She did die a few years ago, and this was finished then with her notes by her husband and by a couple of other writers, I think. And it's basically just about this serial killer that was in California for like 10 years and about the women he killed and all the clues about who he could be. And I think to be honest, I was probably like everyone else, I kind of clued into this book when he was caught a few months ago, and I just found it really, really interesting that there had been a book recently enough published about him and then he was caught, and yeah, it just really piqued my interest and I thought I would just give it a go and see, and who knows, if I like this maybe I'll read more true crime stuff. But yeah, it just sounded really, really interesting, so I'm really excited to read it and see what I think. So that's everything I have read recently. It is everything I have hauled recently. Please let me know what you guys think down below. I'm sorry for the late video, but hopefully bonus book haul makes up for it a little bit. So thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.